Mark Walters is on the line. He is the host of Armed American Radio, nationally syndicated, the author of Lessons from Armed America, and a concealed carry expert. The website is armedamericanradio.com. Mark, welcome to the program.
Hi, Tom. Thanks very much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you and your audience.
Thanks for joining us. So outside of the obvious deer hunting or a weapon to protect yourself in your home, your vehicle, or walking around outside, and the target shooting, why would we have to have a gun?
Personal defense, but I mean,
I named that.
Well, you've just pretty much covered the reasons we would need a gun.
So
guns are fun to shoot on top of everything else, and they're used by millions of law-abiding citizens responsibly every day across.
I agree. I'm a sports shooter myself.
Right.
So that said, what do you say to the people among who call themselves gun advocates who say that they need guns in case the government turns tyrannical?
Listen, the Second Amendment, first of all, isn't about duck hunting or hunting. It was written many, many years ago. The Bill of Rights was ratified 1791, 222 years ago, last month, actually, December 15th. And we have to remember that the Founding Fathers had just fought what they believed to be a tyrannical government and overthrew what they believed to be a tyrannical government to gain their freedom. Things change. There's no question about that. We have to get past, I think, the divisiveness.
Wait a second. Are you saying that the Second Amendment was written so that we could overthrow our own government?
No, I said it was written. I believe that the Second Amendment was written to keep a tyrannical government in check, and I would submit that
I would ask you to provide me with any evidence of that whatsoever. I've read most of the ratifying convention debates on the Second Amendment, and repeatedly there's reference to self-defense. There's reference to a militia that can protect the free state or the nation. James Madison, his second draft, said a free country. He changed that to a free state in the third draft of the Second Amendment to satisfy the people from, basically Patrick Henry and George Mason, who were concerned that their state militias, which were also their slave patrols, might get disarmed by the federal government because of the Article I, Section 8 powers that the federal government took to arm militia. And, if they chose not to arm, then the state wouldn't have the power to arm. But nowhere did I see any reference to overthrowing the government that they had just created.
No, I don't think they were referring to overthrowing the government that they had just created. And what people need to understand is that the Second Amendment exists in this country. It is ratified. And if we're going to have a discussion moving forward, we have to understand where we are today and what we're going to do to stop some of the violence.
But it wasn't put there to stop a tyrannical government. I would submit that there were two primary purposes for the Second Amendment as it stands. The first was to prevent us from ever having a standing army. And there's, ample evidence of that. I mean, that was written at that time, at the time of ratification. That was the standing armies are an impediment to freedom, and in various language to the same. Was written into the Constitution of Massachusetts, Connecticut, Pennsylvania. I mean, a number of states had already literally written that into their constitutions, saying that there would not be standing armies. The first draft of the Second Amendment said standing armies during times of peace. I forget the phrase, but were antithetical to a free people. They did not, because the founders, they had seen, they knew the history of Europe over and over and over again. Countries had been taken over by military coup, and they did not want, and that's why the only appropriation that Congress can make in the entire Constitution that is limited. Congress can establish Social Security to last forever. They can establish welfare programs to last forever. They can establish, telephone systems, whatever they want, except for the Army. Army appropriations for the Army have to be revisited every 2 years, and they zero out. And the reason was because most of the founders didn't want us to have an army. They wanted us to be like Switzerland and have a militia that was controlled at the state level. And so that was the first reason. And the second reason was that the southern states in Georgia, California, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia, the state militias were also slave patrols. They toured the countryside looking for runaway slaves and inspected slave quarters periodically. And they had to be armed to do that. You had in Eastern Virginia or Western Virginia, you had a 10-to-1 ratio of African Americans to white people, and the white people were living in fear of their slaves revolting, and the armed militia, put that down. So, but none of that, is about putting down our own government. All of that is about protecting our government.
I'm not sure who's talking about putting down our government. I'm certainly not. And to get into a debate,
well, you said the Second Amendment was to stop a tyrannical government, and I'm saying it wasn't. It was to protect us against. Well, if you want to say when Canada invaded us in the War of 1812, they were tyrannical. Is that what you mean?
No, sir. What I was saying was that the founders had just fought a tyrannical government. The Second Amendment is in existence to keep a government, to keep us from a tyrannical government. And we can debate this all day long. The fact of the matter is that the Second Amendment exists, and there are a lot of people in this country who don't like the Second Amendment. And what I submit to you is that we have got to go forward. We can go back and refight history all we want.
Okay, let's go forward. The Second Amendment says in order to have a well-regulated militia, that being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of individuals to I'm doing this from memory, so I'm sure I've got a couple words wrong here, but the right of individuals to
keep and bear arms
shall not be infringed. Thank you. Where do we sign up for the militia? Shall we I propose that we rename the National Guard, because every state has one. There's the Michigan National Guard, whatever state you're in, Mark, there's a National Guard there, that we rename those the National Militia.
Okay.
And so if you are a member of the National Militia, you have an absolute 100% certifiable right to a weapon.
And we don't. Are we talking about, are we going to have a collective or individual rights argument here? Is that where we're at?
Well, no, I'm talking, you said, let's go, we have the Second Amendment. It's written the way it's written. Let's go forward. And so I'm saying, okay, fine.
Well,
it's written.
Let's go forward and get past the semantics. We have 300+ million firearms in the hands of over 100+ million private individuals today, and that is not going to change.
Yeah, it's not over 100 million individuals.
That's not going to change.
It's not over 100 million individuals. It's
okay. Whatever your statistics,
it's about 1 in 8, not 1 in 3.
Okay, all right. Well, whatever number you want to throw at it, the fact of the matter is we have hundreds of millions of firearms in the hands of millions. Let's make it millions.
Okay. Well, I have a solution for that.
What's that?
When we figured out that doctors could kill people, we said we are going to register doctors, we're going to license them, make sure that they're proficient, and we're going to regulate them. When we discovered that cars could kill people in the 1920s and 1930s, we said, okay, you're going to register your car, you have to have liability insurance. Oh, and doctors also have to have liability insurance, and you have to prove proficiency. You have to have a driver's license. Why not do the same thing with weapons? They can kill people. So let's register them just like you register a car. Let's have liability insurance for the weapon and for the owner, and have proof of proficiency. I've been through the Georgia Police Academy. I can demonstrate my proficiency with a weapon. I'm guessing that you can too.
I certainly can. Yeah.
Let us, let's say, sure, you have a right to a gun, but that, you also have a right to free speech, but you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. There is no such thing as an unlimited right. Why don't we deal with car?
I don't have a problem. Quite frankly, I think it would shock you and surprise you to understand that. Well, I think you and I agree on more things than we disagree on, and that is keeping firearms out of the hands of bad people who shouldn't have firearms.
And children.
And children. Listen, I have an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old. I'm not going to argue with that. As a responsible gun owner, I have a very large, what I refer to as a gorilla safe in my home where my firearms are kept.
Good on you.
I also have what's referred to as a gun vault. You've probably seen one with the fingertips on it that gives me instant access should I need it for self-defense in the dead of the night. But my firearms are kept away from children and anybody else that I don't want to have them. And
so would you go along with my let's treat firearms like we treat cars?
No, I wouldn't go along with that. I wouldn't at all. It is a constitutional right to keep and bear arms, and it's not.
We have a constitutional right to roads. It's in Article 1, Section 8.